All right. So today we're going deep on something that could really, I think, help a lot of people out there, in the dating world.
Yeah,
It can be really tricky to spot those early warning signs, those subtle hints that someone might not be
exactly.
as charming as they seem at first glance.
It really is tricky in the beginning,
Right. Yeah.
It's so hard to know, is this genuine or is this manipulation? Like,
Right.
what's going on?
Totally. We're diving into a chapter from Pasted Text. It's called Red Flags in Romance,
Oh,
Identifying Narcissistic Behavior, Chapter 3.
right.
And, some of this stuff is just mind-blowing, even for someone like me who thought they'd seen it all.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
So, right off the bat, this whole idea of love bombing,
Oh, yeah.
which, honestly sounds amazing at first, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Like you're showered with compliments.
Mhm.
You feel like you're the center of their universe.
Absolutely.
But is that really a red flag? I mean, come on, who wouldn't want that kind of attention?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, it really plays on our deepest desires to be loved, to
Yeah.
be seen, to be validated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to see that as a bad thing in the beginning.
Exactly.
But the problem is it's often not coming from a genuine place.
Right.
It's more of like a calculated way to win you over, so to
Yeah.
speak, so they can have that control.
So it's more about them than you.
Yeah, I think when you look at it through the lens of, true love should be reciprocal,
Right.
should be mutual respect, understanding.
Yeah.
And, for someone with narcissistic tendencies, it tends to be a one-way street.
Right.
They're so focused on their own needs and desires that they miss you as a whole person
Right.
with your own thoughts and feelings.
So red flag number one, if it feels too good to be true, it probably is.
Problem.
Beware of those whirlwind romances. But the chapter also talks about how this idealization phase
Right.
doesn't last forever, right?
Sadly, no.
So what happens when the honeymoon period is over?
Well, that's when things can start to take a turn.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and you start to see the true colors come out and the adoration fades, and you start to maybe feel neglected or criticized or blamed for things that,
Oh, wow.
you.
That's a hard shift.
Yeah,
So that shift from idealization to devaluation, that's a big one to watch out for.
it is.
The chapter mentions another red flag I'm curious about, this need for constant attention and validation.
Yes.
I mean, we all like to feel appreciated, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this seems like it's on another level.
It is. It really is. I think for someone with narcissistic tendencies,
Yeah.
it goes beyond just liking compliments.
Yeah.
It's a deep insecurity.
Right.
They need to be constantly propped up because they lack a stable sense of self-worth on their own.
So it's like they're emotionally starving and they need to constantly be feeding
Yes.
off of the attention of other people.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
And that can manifest in so many ways.
So many ways. Fishing for compliments.
Right.
Exaggerating achievements. Name dropping.
Yeah.
Even getting upset when they feel overlooked.
Oh.
It's all about being the center of attention.
So, I mean, I'm already starting to think, how exhausting would it be
Right.
to be in a relationship with someone like that?
Yeah, you're constantly
You're walking on eggshells.
walking on eggshells trying to manage their ego.
Right, trying to keep them happy all the time.
Yes.
But the chapter goes on to talk about something even more concerning,
Oh.
this lack of empathy.
Yes.
And it was honestly kind of jarring to read about
I
how
bet.
narcissists struggle to understand or care about
Yeah.
their partner's feelings.
It is difficult to wrap your head around how someone can be so disconnected
Right.
from the emotional world of other people.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, for a narcissist, other people are often seen as extensions of themselves,
Right.
existing to serve their needs.
So it's not even that they're choosing to be insensitive.
Right.
They just genuinely lack the capacity.
Yeah, they just don't have the wiring to
Focus
connect
equal
and care in the same way.
Wow. And that just creates a massive emotional gap
It does.
in a relationship. It's
Yeah.
like you feel unheard, unsupported, and
Mhm.
ultimately very alone.
Yes.
There's a quote here that really stood out to me. When you express your emotions,
Okay.
a narcissist may respond with dismissiveness,
Mm.
boredom, or even hostility.
Yes.
They might roll their eyes, change the subject,
Right.
or even accuse you of being overly sensitive
Oh, absolutely.
or trying to manipulate them.
Yes.
Wow, so they're basically invalidating your entire emotional experience.
It's all about turning it back on you
Right.
and making it about how you're inconveniencing them or challenging their sense of control.
So we've got fleeting charm, constant need for validation,
Yes.
a lack of empathy. Are you telling me it gets worse?
Oh, there's more.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately. Yeah, the chapter goes on to discuss some really insidious tactics.
Okay.
They're used to maintain control and power in the relationship. Things like gaslighting.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
So gaslighting, it's a form of manipulation where the narcissist will actually distort reality to
Wow.
make you doubt your own sanity.
Like Inception.
Kind of, yeah. Like they're slowly chipping away at your perception
Right.
until you're just completely disoriented and dependent on them.
To tell you what's real.
Exactly.
Oh, that's terrifying. I can't even imagine, like, trying to navigate that kind of manipulation.
It's tough, yeah.
Can you give us some, like, concrete examples of how gaslighting might play out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So imagine you confront your partner about something they said
Okay.
that was hurtful, and they just deny it
What?
flat out, even though you remember it clearly.
Right.
Or they might twist events to make it seem like you're the one who's misremembering
Oh, wow.
or exaggerating.
So they're basically erasing your reality.
Yeah, and replacing it with their own,
And replacing it with their own version of events.
yeah, their own twisted version of events.
And over time, that's got to really mess with your head.
It does. It erodes your self-confidence.
Right.
You start to question your own judgment.
Like, am I crazy?
Yeah, am I the problem?
Am I making this up?
Am I too sensitive?
It's so insidious. It's like they're slowly trapping you in this web of their making. The chapter also talks about how gaslighting often goes hand in hand with another red flag,
Yes.
blame shifting,
Oh, yeah.
where the narcissist just refuses to take responsibility.
Right.
So they're
Classic narcissistic tactic, deflecting accountability.
Right. It's always someone else's fault.
Always someone else's fault, never theirs.
They'll blame you for their bad mood,
Mhm.
for their mistakes.
Their own hurtful behavior.
It's never them.
Never them.
Oh, there was this one example in the chapter I thought was really interesting,
Okay.
where the narcissist actually cheated on their partner
Oh, yeah.
and then blamed the partner for not giving them enough attention.
There you go.
It's like, whoa!
That's a perfect example.
Talk about a mind game.
It's never their fault. It's always a justification.
Yeah.
They might even say things like, oh, well, if you were more supportive, I wouldn't have to seek validation elsewhere.
Oh my gosh.
You made me do this.
It's crazy making.
It is.
You would start to doubt yourself.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I am to blame for their behavior.
That's the goal, right? To keep you off balance,
Right.
questioning your worth and ultimately under their control.
So we've got gaslighting,
Yes.
blame shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any escape from this cycle of manipulation?
Well, this chapter also talks about
The dreaded silent treatment,
the silent treatment.
which sounds brutal.
Oh, it is. It's a very cruel form of manipulation.
Like where they just withdraw, completely
I believe there's
refuse to communicate.
nothing.
It's like they're trying to erase you.
Yes, make you feel invisible.
And the silence can be deafening.
It can. It really can.
You're left wondering, what did I do wrong?
Right.
How do I fix this?
Yeah. You're desperately trying to get them to engage.
To talk to me.
Yeah. To just acknowledge you.
It's so isolating.
It is.
I can see how the silent treatment could really mess with your head.
Absolute.
You start to overanalyze every interaction.
Right.
Trying to figure out
What triggered it?
what triggered this withdrawal.
Yes.
And that's exactly what they want.
That's the point.
To keep you on edge.
Yes. To have that control.
The chapter connects the silent treatment
Okay.
to another red flag.
Yes.
Emotional withholding.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they're using affection as a bargaining chip.
Yes. To control your behavior.
Oh, it's like this emotional roller coaster.
It is.
You never know when the next drop is coming.
Exactly. 1 minute they're showering you with love and attention, and the next they're cold and distant.
And you're left feeling so confused
Yes.
and rejected.
And that back and forth
Yeah.
really creates a deep sense of insecurity.
Makes you crave their approval even more.
Yes, absolutely.
So you end up walking on eggshells, constantly trying to please them,
Mm-hmm.
just to earn their affection.
Yes,
It's exhausting.
it is.
The chapter really emphasizes how these tactics create such a toxic power dynamic
Right.
in the relationship.
Yeah,
You're left feeling drained and diminished.
absolutely. It's all about control.
Control.
Manipulation, undermining your confidence, eroding your sense of self,
Right.
and keeping you dependent on them.
This has been a lot to take in.
I know.
But it's also incredibly empowering to be able to recognize these patterns.
It is.
I'm already starting to see some of these red flags
Oh, yeah.
in past relationships,
Interesting.
which is both validating and a little bit unsettling.
Yeah, it's amazing how those patterns just keep repeating themselves, you know?
They do.
You start to see those same red flags popping up and you think, oh, wow,
Yeah,
there's a theme here.
it's true. And, once you start to understand these patterns, it's hard to unsee them.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing.
Right.
It means you're becoming more aware and you can protect yourself.
So this deep dive has been super eye-opening for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to lie, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed.
Like knowing these red flags is one thing,
Right.
but what do you actually do when you find yourself in a relationship with someone who's exhibiting these behaviors?
That's the question, isn't it?
I mean, the chapter doesn't really give us like a step-by-step guide on breaking up with a narcissist.
Right.
It's not like there's a magic formula.
There's no easy answer.
Right.
But I think what the chapter does do is emphasize prioritizing your well-being,
Right.
setting firm boundaries.
So it's about taking back control.
It is taking back control of your life and your emotional health.
And how do you actually do that?
Yeah.
Especially with someone who's so good at like pushing your buttons
Right.
and manipulating you.
It's tough. It's a challenge, but it is possible.
Okay.
I think starting with, defining what you will and will not tolerate.
Mm-hmm.
So that might mean like refusing to engage in certain arguments, limiting contact,
Right.
maybe even walking away from conversations that become disrespectful or abusive.
So you're basically drawing a line in the sand.
Yeah, you're setting a boundary.
And sticking to it.
And sticking to it.
Right.
And remembering that you have the right to protect yourself.
Right.
You don't owe anyone explanations or justifications for your boundaries.
I think a lot of people, myself included, we struggle with that guilt,
Yeah.
Feeling bad for saying no.
Of course.
Or putting our needs first.
Yeah, we're conditioned to people pleasers.
Right.
But you have to remember that you deserve to be treated with respect.
Mm-hmm.
You have a right to have your needs met and to protect yourself from emotional harm.
So that's a huge step, setting those boundaries.
Yeah.
The chapter also talks about the importance of like rebuilding your self-esteem, which I imagine takes a major hit
Oh, it does.
after being in a relationship with a narcissist.
Yeah, they're experts at chipping away at your confidence.
Right.
Making you doubt yourself and your worth.
Like, where do you even begin to rebuild after that?
Well, it's a journey, but it starts with recognizing your inherent worth.
Okay.
Remember all those amazing qualities you have?
Mm-hmm.
The things that make you. You
Yeah.
surround yourself with people who see and appreciate those strengths.
Yeah.
And remind yourself of your accomplishments.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It's about reclaiming your power, rediscovering who you are outside of that relationship.
Exactly. And be patient with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Healing takes time.
Right.
There will be ups and downs.
Yeah.
But with each step you take towards self-love and acceptance, you'll become stronger and more resilient.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on narcissistic relationships and, just the importance of setting boundaries and prioritizing self-care.
I'm glad to hear that, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And by understanding these patterns, you can really, break free, create healthier, more fulfilling connections.
And that's what we all want, right?
Exactly.
To find love and connection that nourishes our souls and helps us grow.
Exactly. And it's out there.
Yeah.
Don't let this experience dim your belief in love. There are people out there who will cherish and respect you for who you truly are.
I love that message of hope. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the red flags of dating a narcissist. Remember, you deserve love and respect. Never settle for anything less until next time. Stay curious and keep exploring.